and welcome to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. Join us for interviews, updates and chat with artists, influencers and those that manufacture the gear that we love. Hello and welcome to 9 to 42, which is the podcast from the guys at the Guitar Show UK. And we need to actually have a moment. We need to be a little bit quiet because Jace is still feeling a little delicate because you've been poorly, haven't you, Jace?
It's nothing major, mate. Yes, I've just been a bit ill this week, that's all.
Yes, but I do worry. I do worry about you.
I'm fine. I came back to work yesterday and I've worked all day today, so I'm fine.
Has anybody brought you any Lucozade or something or some Pedialyte?
No.
The old
I'm
Jason
fine.
Isbell reference.
No, I'm going to a 50th birthday party tonight, so I'm going to be fine.
Right, all right. So you're one of the older people there.
Yes, thank you.
We are over the moon. I'm over the moon. To have for the second guest of the series. We also have our second Northerner, which I'm absolutely over the moon with. Jace is finding this slightly uncomfortable. So we have Chantel McGregor with us, who is a guitarist and songwriter. Chantel, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well. I always worry about Chantal as whether it's Chantal or Chantel.
Oh, everybody calls me anything. To be fair, I get a lot worse, so...
All right, well, I shouldn't have worried too much then. And you're in a wardrobe, aren't you?
I am, yeah, literally. I'm next to the underpants and the socks. It's a bit weird.
Right. Well, it's weird that you should sew your pants and your socks together, but that's a lifestyle choice on your part. What's
more weird is how I've just said underpants because they're not my underpants. That's even weirder because I'm a girl and I don't wear underpants.
The thing is, I'm used to like a 70-year-old saying underpants. I've not heard anybody say underpants for ages.
No, to be fair, I could have said I'm next to the hankies and that'd have really made me sound old. The embroidered surname hanky.
Well, I've got my doilies just by my side.
That just sounds northern.
It does sound northern. But you're not northern anymore, are you? In terms of you're not broadcasting from the north?
At the moment, no. But I'm technically moving between down south and up north, and I'm somewhere about halfway up A1, I think.
Right. So why are you moving then? Why on earth did you go south?
Basically, in lockdown, when they said you could bubble, I moved down to Cambridge. Well, I didn't move to Cambridge, but I've stayed in Cambridge and didn't sort of go back for a bit because my boyfriend's down here. So,
right.
And he's a really good keyboard player, and it's really handy to have a really good keyboard player around.
That explains the shed sessions.
The shed session. Well, yeah. So, we're probably going to get into this anyway, but the shed session thing was like, I started it up north in my shed, doing acoustic and singing in lockdown. And then when I came down here to bubble, it was like, oh, it's all different. And it's not actually in a shed, it's in a living room. So we got a backdrop off Amazon that looked absolutely naff, but it looked like a wooden shed. And so we introduced keyboards into it and that was that.
And then 2 albums later.
Yeah. That were recorded in a wardrobe.
Sorry. So I've got to stop you there. Amazon do a backdrop of a shed.
Or you can get anything. I really want a green screen and then I can start doing some really weird stuff.
I think that's beautiful. What would you know? I mean, I know what you're doing with it because that makes sense, but what does anybody else do with it?
Not a clue. I mean, you could put it up in your living room and pretend you're like living in a log cabin, but it's a bit, you need to get some really good sticky stuff to put it on wall with though. We held it up with a ladder, a mic stand and a curtain pole.
Right.
It was quite primitive.
So we've both listened to the shed sessions today, coincidentally. And first thing I thought was, what made you choose those particular songs?
Basically, because I were doing the live stream thing that everybody were doing in lockdown, and everybody just kept requesting these songs, and I was like, well, shall I record them? Oh, I might do. Yeah, it's something to put out, isn't it? And it keeps people happy over lockdown and that. So I thought, right, I'll record them, which I did, and then messed up all the editing and made a right rubbish thing of it, and re-recorded them about 6 more times. And then, that was why the song selection. It was just what everybody kept requesting and what they liked.
So did you know how to play some of them, or was it a ton of homework for you?
It was a bit of homework. It were some of them I knew, and then some of them people would suggest and say, "Oh, why don't you learn this for next week?" sort of thing. And I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool." And some of them were just random, on the spur of the moment things that, the shed sessions were daft. Basically, it were just me and my dad basically when I were up north, or me and Jamie down here, and my dad had put a daft dog's mask on and call himself Dog Martin and that sort of thing. So it was like, people would suggest, "Why don't you do this?" And we'd do it. Or even like we'd just go, "I fancy playing a bit of Tori Amos today. Jamie, can you sight read that? And I'll just sing it and we'll see how it goes." We'd do it on a live stream, and sometimes it'd be good and sometimes it'd be absolutely terrible. But it were live and it kept people entertained for an hour a week when they couldn't go shopping.
Did you find any artists that you didn't know really, and you kind of like ended up playing their songs and really liking them?
Not really, because I'm really like, if I like something, I get really obsessed about it. So I'm like, if I get into a certain band or musician or whatever, I'll be like, right, I've got to learn that. I'm learning that album. I'm learning how to play it, sing it, everything about it. And so I get a bit engrossed in stuff like that.
No.
The one for me, and I was, in fact, it was the first one I went to, because I just adore the song, and I don't know if it's a song that loads of people know, but that's Uninvited, which I just think is brilliant.
It's haunting, that song.
Oh, it's just a fantastic song, and you did an incredible version of it. But that was the one that straight away I was like, piqued my interest, because it was like, that's the song I think, I'm in, and there's not many people know that song. I'm sure there's millions of people who know that song, and I'm sure that you agree. But somehow I think that's one of those ones that's not very common, really.
Yeah, I think, whenever you say Alanis Morissette, everybody goes, "Oh, it's One Hand in My Pocket," or it's You Ought to Know, or it's, Thank You, or whatever. They never think that. And to be fair, I'm not even sure what album that song's on. So, because I thought, is it a B-side?
I've got a sneaking suspicion it was on a soundtrack first. I think it was City of Angels, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. Oh, I love that film. That's the first place I ever heard it, when I was about 12, and fell in love with it, and just and that's where I picked it up from.
Well, there's some great songs on that soundtrack, because it's also got Goo Goo Dolls on it. It's got Iris on it, which is again another. And I know everybody's got to know that song a bit more. That's been covered by a few people. Is it Boyzone or Westlife did it? But first time round, in fact, that's a really good soundtrack. If you've never listened to City of Angels soundtrack, go and listen to it. It's great.
It's a lovely film as well. I can't watch it though; it just makes me cry. So I can't watch it anymore. It's like Marley and Me. Can't watch it. Just cry.
Do you cry in that kind of very, do you blubber, or do you cry kind of in a nice way, if that makes sense? Or are you just tissues and everything everywhere?
I'm full on snotty crying.
Blubber. Snotty, that's fine. Good.
It depends who's watching.
Northern crying, that.
Yeah, it's like, if you're going to do it proper.
Yeah.
It depends who's sat next to me as well. If it's my mum, I can full on let rip. If it's like, somebody who doesn't know me that well, I'll try and suppress it a little bit so I don't look, weak. But no, I full on let rip. It's like, sobbing.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. I kind of got that vibe from you, even in just a few minutes. Really.
Enthusiastic crying, yeah.
Yeah, just the whole blubbing thing, just the whole proper kind of,
yeah,
full on snot.
Yeah, full on, full packet of Kleenex.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Should we go back to the beginning? Like, what should we go all the way back? So you're Bradford?
I am.
Okay, which you can hear, by the way. For those of us who from up here, you can hear it. Now, was it Leeds College of Music? Is that where you... Okay, so when did you first realise that music was going to be the thing? Because that's a decision, what, 16, 18?
It's probably before that, to be fair. I started playing at 3. So It was always something I was really interested in. And then I went through, obviously, education and stuff like that, and focused on GCSEs and A-levels. And when I was at my school, they didn't do music GCSE or A-level. So the GCSE music teacher, she was teaching me in lunchtimes to try and get me the qualification. But then, unfortunately, she got really poorly and passed away. So I never got music GCSE. Not that sounded really bad, didn't it? It's like she went and died and then I didn't get music GCSE.
That's how I heard it.
Yeah, I made myself sound awful then, blimey. Yeah. So basically, it was, I did music sort of private individual lessons, right from being 7 to 16. Then did grade 8. Then did A-levels, which obviously there were no music A-levels. So I did English and thought about being an English teacher, which would be terrible. I don't know. Can you be an English teacher and speak Yorkshire? I don't know.
Yes.
You just need a translation button on everything, maybe. I don't know.
I would argue we need more English teachers that speak Yorkshire.
Possibly, yeah. Actually, yeah. So I did that, and then it was like one of those decisions where you sat with your mum and dad and you go, right, you can either be an English teacher or you can carry on studying and go and do a music qualification. And I was like, right, music. I don't want to do English because I'm pretty rubbish at it anyway. So we said, right, well, let's go to Leeds College of Music and see what we can, what course sort of thing I'm qualified for. Because I had grade 8 in guitar, and I had, obviously, my A-levels were in normal subjects, boring subjects. So I went and they says, oh, well, because you don't have music A-level, you're going to have to do a BTEC. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. So I was 18 doing a BTEC with all these 16-year-olds, and I'd already been playing forever and ever and ever, and playing live since I was 12. And the most people were sort of like just starting to, go to jam nights. And I was like, yeah, I've been doing this since I was 12. And my patience probably wasn't as patient as it should have been, maybe. Because I was there basically to get a qualification, tick a box so I could do a degree. And a lot of other people were just kind of there because it were an easy option to not have to go and do something else.
Well, do what you'd done.
Yeah, basically. So I was like, right, just tick the boxes, get the grades, and then I can do the degree in it. So did that, then did the degree in it, and that was that.
Did that put you a couple of years behind then?
Yeah. Realistically, I should have gone to do the degree at 18, but I ended up going at 20, I think I was.
Right, so you graduated at 23.
I think, yeah. Your maths is much, but that's why I'm not a maths teacher.
Well, it is 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fine. And how did you find Leeds College Music?
It was all right. It was. It's changed so much since I was there. Pretty much all the staff have changed. The building's changed. Everything's changed. When I was there, it was a bit. I don't know. It kind of didn't prepare you for the real world as such. It was all very kind of, well, this is how you copyright something. There you go. And I'm like, well, are you not going to talk about PRS and, other bits and MCPS and what's the difference and everything? So I was doing all these like dissertations that I had to do and really going into massive depth because I was going to like meetings for Music Management Forum and PRS meetings and MU meetings and learning everything because I was wanting to, I were out gigging while I was doing my degree. So I wanted everything sort of as ready to go when I left uni as possible. And yeah, they didn't cover things like that. And I'm sort of like doing all these dissertations going, well, you really should be talking about, MCPS and how to get your, your writing credits and how to get your royalties for this and that and the other. And yeah, but I think now it's probably a little bit more practical based, which is good. Not that I've been back.
and sorry, Jason, a final thing, and then I'll let you jump in. Apologies. Only because I went to university in Leeds and I spent a lot of time around Leeds, probably just before or around about the time you probably started. So what music stores were you hanging out in?
None of them.
Then? All of them?
None of them.
None of them?
No. It's... So being a girl playing guitar, you walk into a music shop. And I walked into a big music shop in Leeds once, and I was trying out, I think it was PRS's or something. I walked in and I was looking at custom 24s because I was like obsessed with Stephen Wilson and Porcupine Tree, and I really wanted a green custom 24. So I went in and asked to try one and whatever. And they're like, do you need a plectrum? Do you know what a plectrum is? And I was like, you are? And they're like, here, do you need a plectrum? And I'm like, you mean like this one that's got my name on it? That thing, that plastic thing that I play guitar with, yeah. And I was just like, oh my goodness me. Like, it is not that rare that girls play guitar and, don't patronised to say, do you know what a plectrum is? You know. That's why I didn't go in music shops. And I'm not a big fan of music shops because of that, probably because I just always feel a little bit like, oh, there we go. And you walk in and somebody's playing Sweet Child of Mine again, and you're just like, oh, God. So, yeah, I didn't really go in music shops. I was probably more in Leeds Market getting a gyros from the Greek place.
It's probably a better use of your time.
That is really sad, though, isn't it?
It's incredibly sad.
Because I don't know if that's changed much at all.
I think some ways it's changed. I think it's still got a long way to go. It is a weird thing. It's because often you find that people are very respectful and very kind of like, you know, treat you as you should be treated, just normal. And, you know, that's brilliant. But then sometimes you do still get people who go, you know, oh, you're my favourite female guitarist. Or, you know, you've got competition. There's another girl playing guitar. And I'm like, what? It's not a competition or, you know, who's favourite. I'm a guitarist. That's it. It doesn't matter, you know, what gender I am. It's, you know, I just play a guitar. So I think that still exists somewhat, but I think it has improved since I were at uni and things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of tied in with my pet hate that when blokes call their guitar she, I'm like, it's not a she, it's a piece of wood.
It's wood. Yeah.
It drives. What are you going to call? I'm not going to call it anything. It's called a Les Paul. That's what it's called. It's not called Daphne the Les Paul or anything.
That's quite nice, though.
What, Daphne?
Daphne.
I was just thinking about Scooby-Doo.
Like, do you remember when there were those guitars that were shaped like flowers because they appealed to girls?
Daisy Rock.
Yeah, Daisy Rock, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, if it's for kids, then yes, super duper. You know, if it's for, a 10-year-old girl that's, you know, trying to get into music or you're trying to encourage into playing guitar, and if that's the thing that gets her going and thinks, yeah, I want to play guitar, brilliant, super, that serves its purpose. But I think for it to just generally be marketed at females, because, I mean, the advertising for it, I remember it was in guitar magazines with adult females playing these daft-shaped guitars or pink guitars, and it's like, really? You know, do we really need to be patronised into saying, well, you know, oh, you're a girl, you like flowers, don't you? Well, there's a nice pink guitar with some flowers on it for you.
You're absolutely right. It's like, it's not, you don't get a pink car because you're female. You get a car.
Well, I nearly did.
The thing is, the one thing Daisy Rock did right, the one actually thing they did right, which had nothing to do with the shape of the guitar, was actually the models were smaller for smaller hands. That made perfect sense. So why didn't we do that with just normal shaped guitars?
Exactly. That's my point. Because, I mean, my guitar that I use a Petrucci Music Man because it's small. It's small-bodied, it's small neck. I have tiny, tiny hands. And, you know, it's light, so it's comfortable. And that's a perfect guitar for me. As a female that's built like a female, it is a nice guitar to use. And that's why I use it, because it's comfortable and it's easy to play. You know, whereas a Les Paul for me, it's just, I don't find it comfy and it's too heavy and I get backache by end at gig. So, you know, there shouldn't be a thing of, well, this is a boy's guitar, this is a girl's guitar because it's pink and flowery, but it has got a thin neck. But it should just be, well, some models should just be a thinner neck, you know, and they suit females and males because some men don't have massive hands.
No, not at all. I completely agree. I was going to bring up the
that one, Jace, that one.
His guitar, because like all of the pictures of you all over Google Images and everything, are you playing that guitar? But it says on your website that you're endorsed by PRS. And it was like, why are you endorsed by Music Man?
I know, well, because I bought them, basically. Yeah, I mean, the PRS thing, because I love as I said before, the Custom 24. And it would just because of Stephen Wilson, basically. Because I watched his DVD and we're like, oh my God, that looks so cool. And I really want one. So that was the PRS thing, which is probably a bit of a superficial way of buying a guitar. But, you know, I'm a girl. We're superficial.
I only buy guitars that look good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that makes you a guitarist. That doesn't make you a girl.
Exactly, yeah.
That's how we all pick them.
I know. It's just that guitar acquisition syndrome. It's just like, oh, I have it so bad sometimes.
Which it must be doubly difficult, given that you don't go into music shops.
I know. Well, The only time I go into music shops is if I can see, if they've got something specific that I really, really want and go, right, that's the guitar that I want to try. It's something unusual or something that you don't see anywhere else. I want to try that. Then I'll go in and do it. Or a pedal that, you know, is something that's really, really interesting that I'm thinking, oh, that'd sound really great on my pedal board. Then I'm going to go try it in a music shop because that's the only way you can do it, really. And I hate doing the thing where you just buy online.
Yeah.
Because you can't try it out, and it might sound great when somebody does a YouTube video of it, but you don't know how that's going to sound when you play it, because I think so much of sound is in your fingers and your tone and your expression and the way you do things. So for me, it's like I would go into a shop and try, you know, a new pedal or whatever that comes out, but I actively try and avoid to do that. It's just not fun for me.
I watched your own rig rundown that you did on YouTube this morning.
Gosh. That's probably changed a lot.
I did wonder. Are you still using the Sweet Tea pedal?
I am. Yeah, I still use the Sweet Tea. I have a really kind of basic setup. It's basically I have a one control loop thing so that I can bring in different pedals and stuff like that. And well, basically so I don't have to tap dance, which is easier, especially when you don't wear shoes on stage. So, so I have the one control loop thing wiring to all the pedals. Then I use a Sweet Tea for my distortion. I use a little mini wah pedal because there were no more room on my board, so I got a mini one. Yeah, TU3 tuner, a Spark boost, which is that? It's a boost. What do I use? I use a delay.
You got that. You were talking about you could transmit it from your phone to the pedal. It was the TC.
That was it. Yeah, the TC Electronics delay. Yeah. So I use that, and I use the chorus.
A flashback, by any chance?
That's the one.
I've got one down here. And I've got a mini wah. Sorry.
Do you know, well, I've got the mini flashback and the normal flashback. I've got two delays on my pedal board, basically, because sometimes mainly I use the mini one because it's just easier. But then sometimes I like to just use a bit of the other one as well, just for effect. And I also use the John Petrucci TC Electronic Dreamscape, I think it's called. It's the chorus flangey type thing, which I use on one song.
Do you know, I've just spent my lunch hour rebuilding my pedal board.
Oh.
Because I decided that I take this massive pedal board to gigs. Oh, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
And it comes in a flight case and everything. And it's brilliant, but it's a pain in the bum. And I'm like, well, when I'm gigging, I use a TU3, a boost, and a drive, and that's it. And I've got a Boss vocal effect thing. Yeah. And I was like, why don't I just build a pedal board with 4 pedals on it that I can just stick in a bag, sling it over my shoulder and carry it in, rather than, you know, requiring like a forklift to get it out of the back of my car.
Yeah. Do you know, I think this is a musician thing. I think we go through this. It's like a life cycle of pedal things. Because when I first started, I got my pedal board built for me, and it's literally massive. It's about as tall as me. I mean, I'm short, but it is probably about as big as me. This flight case for this thing, and it's got every pedal on it you could ever imagine. And I'm like, oh, it's brilliant, and I can do this, 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 and this. And then I go, oh yeah, I only used 4 of them. So then I downsized to one that's half the size. Now I'm like, can I just take like a distortion and a tuner? And I think you go through this whole cycle of it's got to be huge. And then as you gig more and more and more, you think, can't be bothered carrying all this. So you start out with a huge amp and I really want a Rivera stack. I'm going to get one of them. And then you go, oh, no, actually, no, I'll get a combo because it's just easier. And then, then you end up getting a speaker. And I'm now using the Victory Duchess, the little the pedal thing.
Pedal amp, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm using that and I can pick it up with my little finger because it's so light. And it's like, why do I want to cart about all this stuff when I can just downsize it and basically fit it in a boot?
Yeah.
Nearly.
I think we always go back and I'm looking at my pedal board now, and I think you end up with a delay pedal, a chorus pedal, a distortion pedal, and a tuner.
Yeah.
And I think virtually everybody ends up there.
Yeah, back at the same place.
Because that's the only ones I probably can't do without. And I've got a mini wah on there, which I quite like, but I don't use it that much. But the other three, that's it.
Yeah.
It is just what it is.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? I might get rid of mini wah.
I'm quite aware of this scenario, so I've left the original big pedal board as is and just bought a new pedal board. It's really cheap. What's it called? Ghost Fire or something. It was on Amazon. It was like 35 quid for the pedal board. And I was like, well, that'll do. Actually, for 35 quid, it's really good.
Yeah.
Did it come with a backdrop of a shed?
No. No,
That's
that's in my basket. I haven't pressed order yet.
I think we should find out what that is and put that as a link in the notes. I'm so taken by the whole concept of getting a shed backdrop.
I'll go through my history from lockdown and go, why did I buy all this junk? And then go, oh, that's that bit then.
Yeah, ping it across for us. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I was going to ask a serious question, Jace, actually, just because I think we've strayed a little, but it's fine.
We've talked about guitar pedals on a guitar show podcast.
Oh, yes, but we don't normally talk about gear on a guitar. Do we on a guitar podcast?
Not really, no.
There's plenty of people doing that. You got your degree, obviously, but then I guess I'm interested in the bit now in between the two, because just getting a music degree is no guarantee that you will end up being a musician, is it?
No, absolutely not.
So, but by the sounds of things, it's almost sounding like it was predestined because it was never going to go anywhere else. So if you're gigging, if you're doing jam nights, if you're doing all that kind of stuff from the ages you were doing, was there any doubt that this wouldn't be your career path?
Not really. I think you always worry, and even now I still go, have I done the right thing? You know, I know that sounds really stupid.
I bet you're really thinking it now, aren't you?
But you do. Do you know what I mean? You always think, oh, well, what if I'd have done this? What if I'd have been a vet? What if I'd have done this? You know, and it always comes back to, yeah, but this is what I love doing. But you go through these phases of thinking, well, financially, would I have been better if I didn't have all the expenses of being on the road? You know, just touring costs an absolute fortune. And you think, well, all your mates that have got normal jobs, you know, they're raking it in because they're all working from home. They don't have to leave, they don't even have to put pyjamas, you know, can sit in the pyjamas and wiggle a mouse for every 10 minutes or something. And you think, well, they're all consistently getting paid every month, and they're all, if they're poorly, they still get paid. And you think, oh, well, I'm self-employed and I've got tons of expenses, and there's not a guarantee because, you know, if January comes and nobody goes out to gigs in January because they've spent all the money at Christmas, well, how do I pay like bills when there's no gigs? And so it's bits like that. You always question, have I done the right thing? But I think, I mean, when I were at uni, it was a case of I put my band together and I got out gigging, building a following. I mean, it was on pubs, stuff like that, doing covers, and then slowly introducing more originals. And then when I left uni, it was like, okay, right, we need to take this more seriously now. Because, I mean, I couldn't gig far and wide because I had to be in Leeds to, you know, be 9 o'clock lectures. But once I left there, it was like, okay, now I can go to London and do a gig, or, you know, go to Scotland and do it. And then we just sort of grew it. And we'd already been growing it for, 3 years with the fan base. So then it was like, right, we need to ticket this now and play bigger venues that are ticketed. And some people will come with us, some people won't, because they'll go, well, we saw her 3 months ago in a pub and it was free. Why would we pay £8 now? At the time, it was £8. And, you know, it's a big risk and it's a big leap and it's terrifying because you think nobody's going to pay to see us. And then they do, because they know then that that's the only way they can see is if they're going to pay. And we just grew that and developed it over the last however many millions of years it feels like, into where we are now.
Is the band the same band?
Oh, no.
No.
No, I've had a lot of changes. Things change, things evolve, people grow, people don't grow, and then you have to, you know, make changes. And yeah, it just evolves. And I mean, I'm so happy with the band I've got at the moment. They're beautiful. They're absolutely lovely, brilliant musicians and nice to work with. But it's taken a while to, you know, find that sort of balance. And, you know, things do change as well. Some people are more busy. they might be doing other gigs, other bands, and they have to prioritise other things. So, yeah, it always evolves.
I did watch a video because I live in Bromsgrove, and you played at the Art Tricks, and there's several videos up. And I love the Art Tricks, weird little art centre that didn't survive COVID, but may well be coming back in the new year. Yeah. During COVID, it turned into our vaccination centre, and it's weird, and it's a weird place because it has the most unusual people play, essentially 12 miles south of Birmingham city centre. So, like Jack D did like 3 nights there, and like, Jack D could probably sell out the NEC or something. Why is he playing this 200 cap venue in the middle of Bromsgrove? But the point was, your bass player had the most interesting hair I think I've ever seen on that gig. I strongly recommend you go and check it out. It's just hysterical.
I've got to go back and think.
It's like that? He got a Dead Kennedys t-shirt on.
Oh, it's Colin, yeah.
And his hair was kind of like, half of it was really long and half of it was shaved.
Yeah, it's still like that now.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's not what I think of as a Colin, to be fair.
It's definitely a Colin. But somebody came up and says, "Are you Skrillex?" And they were convinced that it was Skrillex. And I'm like, no, he's Colin.
But he's not your bass player anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah. So he's got like so much work because he teaches at Leeds College of Music, or LCOM, or whatever it's called nowadays. So he's the bass lecturer there, and also he's playing in lots of different bands and all over the country. So he's sort of like first call bass player, and then we have other ones afterwards that are sort of Deps or job sharey type people.
Yeah, job sharing.
Job share. I made it sound like I'm in Asda then, didn't I? Oh, it's a job share.
Oh, it's self-service bass player.
Oh, that'd be so nice. I wouldn't have to get a band. I could save so much money.
Just have to do a quick audition on your way in with your ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like bring your own, innit?
By the way, just going back to something you said, I hate LCOM. Do they really call it LCOM?
LCOM or LCOM? It's Leeds
LCOM, won't it?
Conservatoire. They've called
right.
it now. I think it's LCON, but I don't know why they've called it that. It's a bit weird.
Horrible.
Yeah, I still call it Leeds College of Music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. We better talk about your awards, haven't we?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them.
There's a hell of a lot of them. I thought we'd see them actually in the background. There's that many.
No, they're in garage in a box up north.
Which is the perfect thing to do with awards.
So when did you start picking them up? Was it? Did I read about early 2011, 2012?
I think so, yeah. Can't remember. Yeah, they're just awards, aren't they? It's nice that people vote for you and nominate you and like what you're doing. But I'm always just a bit sceptical with awards. I'm just a bit like, yeah.
Well, hang on a minute, though. Hang on a minute. Let's go back here. 2011, Young Artist of the Year at the British Blues Awards. 2012, Best Female Vocalist at the British Blues Awards. 2013, Guitarist of the Year and Best Female Vocalist at the British Blues Awards. And I will stress Guitarist of the Year. So that's not just awards, is it?
Yeah, it's lovely to be voted for. Because you kind of get a gauge of, well, I must be doing something right if people like me enough to vote for me. So that's a nice feeling. And to me, that's the more important bit is, well, even if you don't win them, it's like, well, if people have voted for you, then they like you enough to try and help you, which I think is a really nice thing. So that means more to me than a bit of glass or plastic or wood.
I was say you are. I was looking through your tour dates, and I noticed that you're playing Home Firth, which is where he is right now.
Yeah.
And I was going through your videos, say on YouTube, and I caught you playing Purple Rain, and I was like, oh blimey, you ought to jam with Ainsley when you get to the guitar show in March, because like he's always playing Purple Rain. And then I realised there's a video clip of you playing it together.
Yeah.
And you're doing a gig together in Home Firth.
Yeah. Well, we did, not last year, the year before, we did a load of double-header gigs, which were lovely, because I've known Ainsley since I was 15, when I first met him. First jammed with him when I was 15 at Ripley Town Hall. And he's lovely, and Steph, his wife, she's lovely, and the band are great and stuff. So it's, the double headline gigs, they were really good fun. And everywhere we went, everyone was like, oh, you're going to get up with Ainsley, you've got to do Purple Rain. So it kind of became a thing. And his version's beautiful as well. So, yeah. And then obviously we're doing Home Faith next year, because I think the promoters probably looked at it and went, oh, it did really well when they did that double header thing. Let's put on a gig.
Which is funny because like Ainsley gets categorised as blues as well, but actually when you listen to Ainsley's music, it's not blues either.
No. Really. I think a lot of things are. I mean, it drives me bonkers, does this blues thing, because I'm not blues. I've never been just blues. I might play one blues song in a blue moon ever, but because I play guitar and it's like everybody goes, oh, it's blues. It's like, no, it's rock. It's probably closer to prog at the moment because we're bordering. I take a lot of absorption. No, I absorb a lot of things that I listen to. I don't absorb physically. You know what I mean. Anyway, so I've been listening to like loads of like Corey Wong and Mark Lethierry and stuff like that at the moment. So Alan Holdsworth as well is a massive influence at the moment. So I've been doing quite a bit more sort of experimental, fusion-y, almost jazz, and then rocking it up a bit to make it a bit more proggy. And it's more that at the moment. And, I don't know where this blues thing comes from, really, because we don't really do blues.
And yet, interestingly, Ainsley won Blues Guitarist of the Year, the award you won twice on the Spin. He won it the year after you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's nice to put things into boxes and it makes it understandable for people if you categorise something as blues or rock or metal or whatever. But to me, I don't like being put in a box. I clamber out and shout about it and go, no. I like to do lots of different things and be diverse and keep it interesting for everybody and myself.
You've got 2 albums of original material and 2 Shed sessions. Said it right again. Is there a 3rd album of original material in the works?
Yeah, I'm working on that at the moment, writing it. So hopefully in the next sort of, well, it's got to be out next year, else I think my dad will kill me. So yeah, next year.
Are you going to go to a studio? Are you going to record it at home in your cupboard?
I think it'll be a studio because it's always a different vibe in a studio. You can do so much yourself, and I know with technology and stuff nowadays, you can make an album yourself. Why wouldn't you? But it's a different thing, and also to work with a producer, you get different set of ears, you get different opinions, different ideas, and I think that's kind of a bit invaluable. That's what you're paying for, essentially, I think. But it is also, since I did the last studio album in 2015, I think the model of how we listen to music's changed so much, and the viability of recording an album now has become, well, you're not selling albums anymore. You're using it as a marketing tool rather than a please buy my CD, because nobody's got CD players in the cars. So
I have.
Have you?
I love CDs.
Oh, I'll send you one then.
No, seriously,
I've got loads left.
I don't really. I've got Spotify, I've got Amazon Music and everything, and I don't. I think the only time I'm on my own a lot is if I'm in the car, and that's my space to listen to music.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think it's particularly safe to be scrolling through Spotify whilst you're driving.
No.
So, I can just put a CD in and press go, and then change it when I get to the other end.
Yeah, I think, that's how it should be. I think, it is a difficult thing, I think, at the moment, where, because it costs so much to make an album, costs an absolute fortune. By the time you've paid musicians, the studio, the producer, the mastering, then getting it pressed up, the artwork, everything else, it costs an absolute fortune. And you think, well, I'm never going to recoup this just by selling CDs, probably, because it is rare that people, go, oh yeah, I'll get a CD. Or what we do find is that people buy a CD because they want you to sign something and they just want to support you. They've been to the gig, they want to support you and give you something back. And you think, actually, that's lovely. Use it as a coaster.
Yeah, it's weird. The last gig I played, I didn't sell anything at all, but the one before, I managed to sell 2 T-shirts and 2 CDs, which was a complete surprise.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of base it on the fact that I don't actually sell anything.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I think musicians still rely on merch a hell of a lot because your expenses are so high. If as a tour, especially as a solo artist, because you're not a band sharing the expenses out, it's just all on you. You know, because it does cost so much to be on the road, and for hotels and stuff, it's an absolute fortune now. Since COVID, it's like, you know, when you used to be able to get a travel lodge room for 25 quid, now you're looking at like 80 quid, and you go, I've got 4 of these to pay for. And, you know, you've just basically spent most of your money on some travel lodge rooms and a van. And, you know, by the time everybody's been paid, there's no left for you at the end of it. So you're reliant on merch and hoping that people will buy your merch and your CDs. So it is a tricky thing. And it's, you know, I mean, I'm as bad as anyone. I've got Spotify and I listen to stuff on Spotify and, you know, I like it because you can find new music that you'd never normally get to listen to. But I also do like to buy vinyl, which I need to stop doing because that's why I've no money.
I've just started buying it again. It just costs a bloody fortune. The last album that I bought was 33 quid. It was a special one album that's now been pressed as a double album. Blah, blah. I really don't care.
Yeah.
The sound quality doesn't bother me that much. No.
I just like having a vinyl. Well, it's because I've got a load of IKEA units that I need to fill. That's what it is. It's having a big thing that you can look at. And also because I'm getting older and my eyesight's naff, it's like, oh, it's big, I can read it. Whereas on a CD, you like...
It's sleeve notes.
Yeah.
It's absolutely sleeve notes. It's. I think it's always kind of been sleeve notes.
Yeah.
Nobody ever moaned about the sound quality of CD.
No.
You will get purists who will turn around and say that vinyl's warmer, and I get that, provided you've spent a shitload on the equipment that you're using to listen to it. Because these, you know, the players that you buy in HMV for 100 quid are not going to sound better than a CD. They're probably not going to sound better than an MP3, to be perfectly honest.
No.
So then it becomes about the thing. It becomes about the thing, and I think it then becomes about the notes and the artwork.
It is.
Because the notes and the artwork got lost when we went to CD. They just got lost as a concept, as a thing, as part of the actual overall experience of a creation of a piece of art. What disappeared were the notes and the artwork, and I think that's come back massively, and I think that's absolutely to be applauded. Because if you go to the 70s, you know, probably early 80s, but certainly 70s, some incredible works of art were around albums. So I think in that respect, it's fantastic. Which brings me to the question, which is, I was just looking at your shop on your website, and there doesn't appear to be any vinyl on there. So for a vinyl lover, why are you not producing vinyl?
Because it's
of your
expensive.
Albums? Is that it? Is it just literally that?
Yeah, it is so expensive to manufacture, and the lead time on getting it manufactured as well is ridiculous. It's months and months. Or that's what we've been told from whenever I've inquired about getting it done. And it just costs such a lot of money, and it's a lot of money to outlay to then think, well, will anybody buy it? If you put vinyl out at 30 quid, 35 quid, is anybody going to go, oh, there's 35 quid, I'll buy vinyl? Or are they going to go, it's a bit dear, and, you know, there's 2 of us come out and we've spent, you know, 18 quid a ticket, and, you know, it's cost us a lot to come out by the time we've had a few drinks, so we can't afford a vinyl. And you think, I don't want an house full of my own vinyl. It's bad enough having an house full of everybody else's vinyl.
Yeah. No, and there is something in that, because I seem to recall hearing or reading something about the fact that obviously when vinyl kicked back off again, which I think was a surprise to everybody, that actually the ability to produce vinyl hasn't matched the increase in demand. There aren't enough places that actually compress it. Because literally the technology, I know we were talking a little bit earlier on about Shaw. Shaw always used to do cartridges, phono cartridges, and at the point when vinyl was hitting its peak again, Shaw had to move away and had to discontinue all their phono cartridges simply because they couldn't get the parts and they couldn't repair the machines that they had, and the amount of investment it was going to cost to carry on doing it. Because ultimately, 10 years before or 5 years before, the decision had been made that market was just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking every year. You were down to a hardcore of a few people, and they bought the last of the components and then said, right, that's it. We don't need any more. And then, of course, vinyl kicks off again. And so I do think it's a real shame, but I don't think that the issue is just I don't think there's just not the capacity for the demand.
No. I mean, when you look at, like, I think, was it Jack White? He made his own vinyl pressing plant because there was such a lack of plants that could actually produce all these vinyls. So he created, I can't remember what it's...
Third Man Records.
That's it, yeah. Made his own pressing plant. And you go, well, fair play to him. I can't afford to do that, so...
Have you not got another cupboard you could do it in?
No.
Another wardrobe somewhere?
Well, no, because the cat would want to get involved and she'd scratch him and, it's just not worth it.
Oh, watching your cat looking at a vinyl pressing machine would be hilarious.
Oh, it'd be terrible. She'd be sat on it. It'd be, she'd ruin it.
I saw an advert this week on Facebook that was get your own record pressed. And it's like, I'm not going to get any vinyl pressed or anything. And I thought, but a one-off would be quite cool to have. 99 quid for one album. I was like, nah, I'll leave it. Thanks.
See, I don't think that's too bad, actually, as a one-off.
I thought it'd be dearer. I thought it'd be closer, maybe a couple of hundred, to be fair.
Yeah. And this is two Yorkshire people who are now suggesting that you're tight. Jace.
Oh, just run it through the business expenses.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely fine. You get the VAT back. So what's next, Chantal? I think we alluded to the fact that there's some tour dates. You've got tours booked all the way through the early part of next year, haven't you? Your dates booked.
Yeah.
And then obviously the album. Anything else coming? Because you mentioned when we were talking before we started about voiceover work.
Yeah. Well, basically in lockdown, because we couldn't gig, I was like, I've no money, I've no income, because I couldn't get size grants and I couldn't get furloughed. Basically, I fell through the cracks because I've got a limited company for the albums and then I've got self-employed for the live work. I didn't get any sort of benefit from the government. So I was like, right, I've no money. And at that point, I didn't have a tip jar thing for the shed because at first I was really against that. I was like, it's really scroungy. And like, I just want people to watch it because they're enjoying it and it gives them something to look forward to. And I don't want people to feel like they've got to pay for it. It's something, we're all in this together and we're all having a bit of a naff time and can't go out. So it'd just be nice on a Saturday to, just have a bit of fun for an hour and people join in. So I didn't put a tip jar thing. And I was like, after a few months, I was like, oh God, I literally have zero money coming in at all. I have no money to pay for anything. I can't pay for the shopping. I can't buy anything. So I was like, right, I need to do something. And so many people had said about voiceover work, because obviously everybody loves a Yorkshire accent. No. I don't know if you look at, TV and stuff like that and radio, but there's so many sort of regional accents advertising things. So I thought, actually, we could be onto something here, because I've got all the recording stuff and I've got the mics and whatnot. And I thought, well, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I went and set myself up a little Fiverr account and all this, and I got loads of work. And I was like, maybe I'm too cheap. No, got loads of work. And I thought, well, actually, this is a good way of giving myself a bit of income through lockdown to pay for shopping every week and any bills that come in. And so I did that. And then that grew and grew. And then I got a profile thing with like an online thing, Mandy or whatever it's called. And just auditioned for stuff and got some right good adverts. I were a giraffe for a pancake advert. I were a bus stop seat and a press a button for COVID adverts. So yeah, never got Yorkshire Tea or any broadband. Oh no, I did get a broadband one actually.
It's got to be PlusNet.
I wanted to. Well, no, I really want PlusNet. That's the goal. Is Yorkshire Tea and PlusNet. That would be lovely. But no, it was for one in Hull, and they wanted somebody with a Hull accent, and I'm like, well, I don't have an Hull accent, but I mean, I can fake it a bit. So yeah, I faked it a bit.
Brilliant. I don't think anybody wants a Brummy accent for anything ever. Even I watch regional news and go, oh, dear God, do I sound like that? The best was Warsaw Art Gallery, which is a oxymoron in itself, had got Noddy Holder doing the lift. So it's like first floor.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Floor.
That's incredible. There's a voiceover guy. I think he must be Sheffield based, but he when you ring up, there's a Sheffield music shop that actually they're a really nice music shop. I do like going in there because they're always really nice, and they've got some lovely guitars in the acoustic section.
Feel free to name check them, by the way.
Is that Rich Tone?
Rich Tone. But if you ring up Rich Tone, do it out of hours, like do it on a Sunday night. Ring them up, and it's amazing because they've got this guy who is the spitting sound, I'll go with that, of Sean Bean. And he's like, you've reached Rich Tone Music. There's nobody here to take your call. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Sean Bean. So when I went into Rich Tone, I were asking lads behind counter, and I was like, how did you get Sean Bean? And they're like, it's a bloke called Alan. And I was like, oh my goodness me. But if you listen to the O2 adverts on radio...
Yeah, it's changed.
Has it? Is it?
Yeah. It's not Sean anymore, is it?
Well, I wonder if it's Alan.
It's not Sean. For those of us, obviously, who are used to Sean's voice, and he's a Sheffield United fan, so he's God as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I noticed when that changed, I thought that's somebody pretending to be Sean. That isn't Sean.
No, I think it's Alan.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he got a free phone.
Oh, you don't?
I never got any free pancakes when I were a giraffe.
Did you not?
No. They're in Asda, but I never got any freebies.
Mind you, it's not an unusual career path. You've got Ian Danta, who now is on TalkSport and Planet Rock. He used to work in musical exchanges in Birmingham, and I think he got the job of doing the voiceovers for Birmingham City, because if you were in musical exchanges on a Saturday afternoon, Dance would come on the intercom that would go all around the store and give the football scores as the afternoon was going on, in a pre-internet, your phone will tell you if anybody scores kind of way. And someone heard him, and now he's Planet Rock on a Monday night and TalkSport. So maybe Alan is following in Dance's footpath.
Could
and
be.
he's got career.
Maybe that's what I need to do. I wouldn't have the expenses and I wouldn't have to go anywhere. I could just sit in wardrobe.
I think we should leave it there.
Absolutely.
We
can't top that.
Chantel, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. You must pop round for a brew when you play Home Firth.
That sounds like a plan. You'll have to come to a gig.
Oh, yeah, love to.
Yeah.
Love to. Well, if you come round for a brew in the afternoon, toasted tea cake and all, and then I'll pop along to the gig in the evening.
That's a plan.
Lovely. I tell you who else likes a toasted tea cake and a Yorkshire tea. That's Hannah Trigwell.
Oh.
Just as an aside,
right.
She likes a Yorkshire tea and a toasted.
Is
tea
it a
cake
current
as well.
tea cake?
Yes.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can't be anything else.
Can't do it without a currant bun.
No, you're right. Anyway, thank you very much, Chantal. Jace, I'll see you next time. But before we go, we must thank...
Focusrite.
Was that it? Just Focusrite?
No. Must thank the guys at Focusrite for sponsoring this podcast.
Mm-hmm. And
thank you.
Anybody else while you're there?
No, that's it. Done.
Oh, so Reverb done that? We're not thanking Reverb anymore?
Yeah, we've done that.
All right,
that.
Yeah, you've had your go, Reverb. Sorry.
It's part of the deal for the sponsorship of the live stage.
Oh, chuck a next one in. They're lovely. Reverb are lovely. Thank you, Reverb. You're lovely.
Yes.
Not quite as lovely as Focusrite, but getting there.
Well, Focusrite sponsor all year round, don't they?
They do. They're blinding folks. Right, I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. If you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with other like-minded souls. For more information about 9 to 42, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at the Guitar Show UK. This has been an A Short Stories production.